In the heart of Myanmar, a civilization built a city of 1,000 spires, yet it vanished without a trace. Imagine a sprawling plain, dotted with thousands of temples, stupas, and monasteries, each reaching for the sky. This was Bagan, a testament to faith, power, and artistry that once rivaled the greatest cities on earth. But how did this magnificent spiritual metropolis rise from the dusty plains, and what led to its mysterious decline? Join us as we journey back in time to uncover the secrets of the lost city of Bagan. Between the 9th and 13th centuries, the Pagan Kingdom flourished along the fertile banks of the Irrawaddy River. Long before it became the empire we know, the region was a collection of small settlements inhabited by the Pew people. But everything changed with the arrival of the Bamar people from the north. They settled in this strategic location, a dry, open plain that offered both defensive advantages and control over river trade. The city's true genesis began around the mid-9th century, but it was a king named Ananda who would catapult Bagan from a regional power to a continental empire. Ascending to the throne in 1044, King Ananda was a visionary leader with unmatched military prowess. He unified the disparate regions of modern-day Myanmar under his rule, creating the first Burmese empire. But his greatest legacy wasn't forged in battle. It was built on faith. Ananda was converted to Theravada Buddhism by a monk from the south named Shin. This conversion was a pivotal moment in the history of Southeast Asia. Ananda became a zealous patron of the faith, and he made it his mission to establish Theravada Buddhism as the state religion. To do this, he needed the sacred Buddhist scriptures, the Tripitaka, which were held in the Pagan Kingdom of Thatin. After his diplomatic requests were refused, Ananda marched his army south and returned to Bagan, not just with the scriptures, but with the Mon King, skilled artisans, architects, and scholars. This influx of knowledge and skill, combined with Ananda's fervent devotion, ignited a construction boom of unimaginable scale. Bagan was to become the spiritual heart of his empire, a city of 4 million pagodas. This religious fervor wasn't limited to the king. Following Ananda's example, royalty, wealthy officials, and even common citizens began to build temples and stupas as acts of merit. It was believed that constructing these religious monuments would earn them good karma, ensuring a better life in their next reincarnation. This created a society where religious devotion was publicly and extravagantly displayed through architecture. Each temple was a unique expression of faith, ranging from small, simple stupas to vast, multi-storied temple complexes, decorated with intricate carvings and beautiful murals. The architectural style of Bagan is a fascinating blend of influences. Early structures show clear Pew and Mon characteristics, with bulbous stupas and dark, intimate, interior corridors. As Bagan's power grew, so did its architectural confidence. The classic Bagan style emerged, characterized by soaring bell-shaped stupas, pointed arches, and elaborate stucco work. Temples like the Ananda, built by Ananda's successor Kyansitha, showcase this evolution perfectly. Its symmetrical design, gilded spires, and for massive standing Buddha statues facing the cardinal directions were designed to awe and inspire. It was a statement of both spiritual devotion and imperial might. Bagan became a renowned center for religious and secular studies, attracting monks and scholars from as far away as India, Sri Lanka, and the Khmer Empire. It was a cosmopolitan city, a melting pot of cultures and ideas, all centered around the teachings of the Buddha. The city's layout itself was a cosmic diagram, a mandala with the royal palace at its center, symbolizing the king as the center of the universe, the Chakravartin, or universal ruler. The thousands of surrounding temples were not just places of worship. They were libraries, schools, and community centers, forming the very fabric of Bagan society. Life in Bagan revolved around the river and the temple. The Irrawaddy provided water for the rice paddies that fed the empire, and served as the main highway for trade and communication. Inscriptions from the era tell us of a highly organized society. They reveal details about land ownership, tax systems, and the complex economy that supported this massive, continuous construction effort. An entire class of temple servants, artisans, and laborers was dedicated to building and maintaining these structures, supported by vast agricultural land grants donated to the temples. This incredible period of growth and spiritual construction lasted for over 250 years. Successive kings continued the tradition, each trying to outdo their predecessors in the scale and grandeur of their religious offerings. This resulted in the breathtaking landscape we see today. It's a surreal, almost otherworldly sight, especially at sunrise or sunset, when the golden light catches the ancient brick and stone, setting the entire valley aglow. Each spire tells a story of a king, a queen, or a humble family who poured their wealth and their hopes for the afterlife into these magnificent structures. But this golden age couldn't last forever. The very devotion that built Bagan may have also planted the seeds of its downfall. The constant donation of land and resources to the tax-exempt religious institutions began to strain the kingdom's economy. As the temples grew richer, the crown grew poorer, weakening its ability to maintain a strong army and administer the vast empire. The kingdom became overextended, and then, from the north, came a new threat. The Mongols. In the late 13th century, the armies of Kublai Khan swept across Asia. After diplomatic tensions and border skirmishes, the Mongol forces invaded Bagan in 1287. The Burmese army, weakened by internal issues, was no match for the formidable Mongol cavalry. The Pagan king fled. The capital was sacked, and the empire fractured. The once mighty city, the spiritual center of a vast kingdom, was left abandoned, its royal patronage gone. The great construction boom came to an abrupt halt, while the Mongol invasion marked the end of the Bagan Empire. It wasn't the sole reason for the city's abandonment. The site was never completely deserted. A smaller community continued to live among the temples. However, the economic and political collapse meant the city could no longer support its grand population or maintain its thousands of monuments. The center of Burmese power shifted elsewhere, and Bagan, the city of 1,000 spires, slowly began its transformation from a bustling metropolis into the silent or inspiring archaeological zone we marvel at today. Its story is a powerful reminder that even the greatest empires can fade, leaving behind only whispers and monuments as proof of their once glorious existences. Thousands of temples, countless statues yet. The prayers of centuries remain a mystery. What did the people of Bagan whisper into these sacred halls? What hopes and fears did they entrust to these stone and gilded figures? This is a story of religion and spiritual life in Bagan, a realm built on belief. Buddhism shaped every aspect of life in Bagan, from the grandest royal ceremonies to the most humble daily offerings. It wasn't just a religion, it was the very air they breathed, the moral compass that guided their society, and the artistic inspiration that fueled a building frenzy unlike any other in history. As we wander through these silent corridors, you can almost feel the echoes of devotion. Imagine this space, not empty as it is today, but filled with the soft glow of thousands of oil lamps and candles, their light flickering across the faces of countless Buddhist statues. Each statue, whether massive and imposing or small and intimate, was a focal point for meditation and prayer. The artisans who created them weren't just sculpting stone, they were crafting vessels for the divine, objects of profound spiritual significance. Notice the different hand gestures, or mudra. Each one tells a story, conveying concepts like fearlessness, teaching, meditation, or charity. They were a visual language, understood by everyone, from the king to the common farmer. For the people of Bagan, these statues were not mere idols, but reminders of the path to enlightenment, a tangible connection to the teachings of the Buddha. Now, let your eyes drift upwards to the walls and ceilings. The frescoes and murals that adorn these temples are like sacred storybooks. They depict the Jataka Tales, the stories of the Buddha's previous lives, teaching lessons of compassion, sacrifice, and wisdom. These vibrant paintings were the primary means of religious education for a largely illiterate population. They brought the scriptures to life, illustrating complex philosophical ideas in a way that was accessible and captivating. Looking at these scenes, you see a universe teeming with celestial beings, noble princes, and fearsome demons, all part of the great cycle of existence. The goal was to break free from this cycle and achieve nirvana, and these temples were the gateways to that understanding. Let's consider the daily rituals. Monks in saffron robes would have walked these very paths at dawn, collecting alms from the faithful. This daily act of giving wasn't just charity. It was a way for La people to earn merit, or kutho, which was believed to ensure a better future life. Building a temple was the ultimate act of merit-making, a grand gesture of devotion that promised immense spiritual rewards. Kings and queens, wealthy officials, and even ordinary families poured their resources into constructing these pagodas, each one a testament to their faith and a step on their own spiritual journey. The sheer number of temples here isn't a sign of competition, but of a collective, society-wide effort to accumulate merit and honor the Buddhist faith. The symbolism extends beyond the art. The very structure of the temples is a map of the Buddhist cosmos. The solid, massive base represents the earth, the world of suffering. As you ascend, moving through terraces and levels, you are symbolically moving upward through different planes of existence, closer to the heavens. The spire, or T, that crowns each pagoda points a Sesorios, the sky, a final, aspirational gesture towards the ultimate goal of nirvana, the state of liberation beyond all worlds. Every brick laid, every statue carved, every mural painted was a conscious act of devotion, a physical manifestation of a spiritual quest. Imagine a festival day. These quiet grounds would have been alive with a throng of people. The air, thick with the scent of incense and flowers, would have resonated with the sound of chanting, gongs, and bells. Families would gather, bringing offerings of food, water, and flowers to place before the Buddha images. It was a time of community, of shared belief, and of reaffirming their connection to the sacred. These rituals weren't just empty traditions. They were the threads that wove the social and spiritual fabric of Bagan together, reinforcing a shared identity and purpose. The life of a monk was central to this spiritual ecosystem. They were the teachers, the scholars, and the living exemplars of the Buddhist path. Their days were structured around meditation, study of the scriptures, and service to the community. They renounced worldly possessions, living a life of simplicity and discipline. The monasteries, documentos, the temples were centers of learning, preserving and transmitting knowledge from one generation to the next. The relationship between the monastery and the laity was symbiotic. The people supported the monks with material needs, and in return, the monks provided spiritual guidance and education. Even as we see these temples as magnificent historical monuments, it's crucial to remember their original purpose. They were not museums. They were living, breathing centers of faith. They were places of solace, of learning, and of profound hope. The echoes of 1,000,000 prayers still linger in the air, a testament to a civilization that dedicated its entire existence to a spiritual vision. The stones themselves seem to hold the memory of that devotion. As we conclude our journey through the spiritual heart of Bagan, we are left with a sense of awe. This was a kingdom that didn't just practice a religion. They lived it, they breathed it, and they built it into the very landscape. The thousands of temples that dot this plain are not just architectural marvels. They are the enduring legacy of a people's unwavering faith. A collective prayer in stone and brick that has lasted 1,000 years. The mystery of their individual prayers may be lost to time, but their collective devotion surrounds us, as vast and as timeless as the sky above. How did a civilization from 1,000 years ago manage to construct such an enduring legacy? What stories are etched into their very stones, from the humblest stupas to the most grandiose temples? Bagan's architecture is a captivating blend of ingenuity and profound spirituality. Let's start with the basics. Originally simple mounds housing sacred relics, Bagan stupas evolved into something truly spectacular. Think of the iconic Shwezigan pagoda, its golden bell-like dome gleaming under the sun. This design, known as the Sinhola style, became a blueprint. It features a solid, bell-shaped structure sitting on a series of square or octagonal terraces. These weren't just decorative, they symbolized different levels of Buddhist cosmology, a stairway to enlightenment. The builders used locally sourced bricks, fired to perfection, and held together with a remarkably strong mud mortars, mixed with plant fibers. This wasn't just construction, it was a sacred act, with every layer meticulously placed, creating a solid mass of faith that has withstood centuries of sun, rain, and even earthquakes. The sheer scale and number of these stupas across the plains are mind-boggling. each one a monument to devotion. But Bagan's architectural genius truly shines in its temples, or GU-style temples, which means cave. Unlike the solid stupas, these were hollow structures designed for worship inside. They were inspired by the rock-cut temples of India, but adapted with local materials and a uniquely Bagan aesthetic. Imagine stepping out of the bright sunlight into the cool, dark interior of the Ananda Temple. It's a completely different world. The layout is often a symmetrical cross plan, with a central cube supporting a towering spire. For massive Buddha statues face the cardinal directions, their serene expressions illuminated by cleverly placed windows. These windows weren't just for light, they were strategically angled to create a divine, ethereal glow, focusing your attention on the sacred images. It's an architectural trick that transforms a building into a spiritual experience. The construction techniques were nothing short of brilliant. Arches were a key innovation. While ancient Romans used keystones, Bagan's builders perfected the true arch using radiating bricks, allowing them to create vast, open interior spaces without needing massive pillars. This was a game changer. It enabled them to build multi-story temples with vaulted corridors and spacious chambers for worshippers. We can see this mastery in the Suleimani Temple, often called the crowning jewel of Bagan. Its intricate brickwork and complex vaulting systems are breathtaking. They also used interlocking bricks and a form of reinforced bricklaying that gave the structures immense strength. Up close, you can see how each brick was perfectly shaped and placed, a puzzle of incredible precision. The builders were true masters of their craft, turning humble clay bricks into architectural wonders that feel both monumental and delicate. Now, let's talk about the exterior. The Sakara, that corn-cob-like spire, is a defining feature. It rises in tiers, adorned with intricate stucco carvings of mythical creatures and celestial beings. These carvings weren't just for show. They told stories from the Jataka Tales, the lives of the Buddha, educating the illiterate masses through art. The exterior walls were often covered in this ornate stucco work, though much of it has weathered away over time. But where it survives, like at the Tilaminlo Temple, you get a glimpse of their original splendor, a dazzling display of white stucco against the deep red of the bricks. The temples were also designed with the climate in mind. Thick walls provided insulation, keeping the interiors cool, while the tiered roofs and terraces helped shed the heavy monsoon rains, protecting the structure and the priceless murals within. Inside, the artistry continues. The walls of Bagan's temples are like ancient storybooks, covered in vibrant murals. These frescoes were painted on dry plaster using natural pigments, earthy reds, deep blues, and shimmering golds. They depict not only religious scenes, but also glimpses of daily life in the Bagan Empire. Kings and queens, court ceremonies, soldiers, and even common folk. The artists had a unique style, with strong outlines and flat planes of color, creating powerful and expressive narratives. In temples like Gabiakti, the murals are incredibly well preserved, offering an unparalleled window into this lost world. Looking at these paintings, you feel a direct connection to the people who lived, worked, and worshipped here 1,000 years ago. It's like their spirits are still whispering from the walls. The layout of the entire Bagan plain is also a marvel of planning. It's not a random scattering of buildings. The most important temples and stupas are strategically placed, often aligned with celestial events or other sacred sites. Aerial views reveal a deliberate, grid-like pattern in some areas, suggesting a sophisticated understanding of urban planning and sacred geography. The city was a sprawling complex, with palaces, monasteries, and homes surrounding the religious monuments. While the wooden secular buildings have long since vanished, the thousands of brick temples remain, forming a sacred landscape that is unlike anywhere else on Earth. Walking or biking through the plains, with temple spires appearing and disappearing between the trees, feels like stepping into a dream. The decline of the Bagan Empire in the late 13th century meant that this frenzy of temple construction came to an end, but the legacy was already cemented, literally, in brick and mortar. The architecture of Bagan didn't just disappear. It influenced temple design across Southeast Asia for centuries to come. Its unique blend of Indian inspiration and local innovation created a style that was distinctly Burmese and profoundly beautiful. These temples weren't just buildings. They were a form of prayer, a way to gain spiritual merit. Every brick laid, Every carving etched was an act of devotion. And that's what you feel when you stand among them, an overwhelming sense of peace, history, and human creativity. Bagan is more than just an archaeological site. It's a living museum of faith, art, and architectural genius. It's a reminder that even 1,000 years later, the desire to build something beautiful and meaningful can endure, inspiring awe in all who witness it. This is where Bagan truly comes alive, not just as a collection of ancient buildings, but as a vast, open-air art gallery. Bagan's temples tell tales of kings, gods, and legends through intricate frescoes and carvings that cover their inner walls. Each brushstroke, each chiseled line, is a window into a world that vanished long ago. Let's step inside, away from the sun, into the cool, dimly lit corridors. Look closely at these walls. The paintings you see are some of the oldest surviving frescoes in Southeast Asia. They depict the Jataka Tales, stories of the Buddha's previous lives, a visual library of morality and compassion. Here, you see a prince giving away his possessions. There, a story of a wise rabbit. The colors, though faded by time, still hold a certain vibrancy: earthy reds, deep ochres, and calming blues, all derived from natural pigments. The artists of Bagan were masters of their craft, using a technique called fresco-seco, painting on dry plaster, which required immense skill and speed. The level of detail is simply breathtaking. Notice the delicate lines that define the characters' expressions, the flowing robes, the intricate patterns on royal barges. These aren't just decorations. They were educational tools for a largely illiterate population. Monks would guide pilgrims through these painted corridors, narrating the stories and teaching the core principles of Buddhism. It was a multimedia experience, but it's not just paint on plaster. The stonework and stucco carvings are equally impressive. On the exterior of many temples, you'll find elaborate friezes and sculptures, celestial dancers, mythical creatures, and floral motifs seem to grow out of the very stone. These carvings served both a decorative and a protective purpose, warding off evil spirits and inviting good fortune. The artists who created these were not just craftsmen. They were theologians, storytellers, and engineers, all rolled into one. They understood how light and shadow would play across their work throughout the day, giving the carvings a life of their own. One of the great mysteries of Bagan is how so much of this art has survived. For centuries, these temples stood exposed to monsoon rains, scorching heat, and the occasional earthquake. While many frescoes have been lost or damaged, the survival of so many is a testament to the incredible techniques of their creators. The composition of the plaster, the quality of the pigments, and the sheltered placement of the art all played a role. Today, preservation is a huge challenge. Look here. You can see the painstaking work of modern conservators. They're in a constant race against time, battling humidity, salt damage, and even insects to save these priceless treasures. Using tiny brushes and specialized chemical solutions, they gently clean away centuries of grime and stabilize the flaking paint. It's a delicate process, a conversation between the present and the past. Sometimes, they uncover earlier layers of painting, revealing that these walls were like a canvas, painted over and over again through different eras. Each temple offers a unique artistic journey. Some, like the Suleimani Temple, are famed for their bright, well-preserved frescoes from a later period, showing a more refined and detailed style. Others, like the Givikajai Temple, boast some of the oldest and most stylistically important paintings, with clear influences from neighboring cultures. It shows that Bagan was not an isolated kingdom, but a vibrant hub on the crossroads of Asia, absorbing and reinterpreting artistic ideas. As we look at these figures painted on the wall, it's easy to feel a direct connection to the people who lived here 1,000 years ago. They saw these same images, heard these same stories, and walked these same hallowed halls. The art of Bagan transcends time. It's a silent, beautiful language that speaks of faith, history, and the enduring power of human creativity. It reminds us that these structures are not just empty monuments. They are living repositories of culture, filled with stories waiting to be rediscovered by those who take the time to look. Once the center of an empire, where thousands of gilded spires reached for the heavens, Bagan fell silent. For centuries, it was the beating heart of a powerful kingdom, a city of immense wealth, faith, and artistic splendor. Then, as if overnight, the vibrant pulse of this golden city faded into a whisper. Why did this magnificent capital, a place that once rivaled the greatest cities on earth, simply vanish from the world stage? The story of its decline is a captivating mystery, a puzzle pieced together from crumbling stone and whispered legends. In the 13th century, the seemingly invincible Bagan Empire began to show cracks in its foundation. The first tremors were not from the earth, but from the north. The formidable Mongol armies, led by Kublai Khan, were expanding their empire across Asia. After a series of diplomatic clashes and demands for tribute, the inevitable happened. In 1287, the Mongols invaded, culminating in the Battle of Pagan. Although historical accounts differ on the scale of the destruction, the invasion undoubtedly destabilized the kingdom, shattering its military and political authority. The royal court fled, leaving a power vacuum that local chieftains and rival powers were all too eager to fill. The once unified empire began to fracture, its authority crumbling like the very temples it was famous for. This external shock was the first major blow, a wound from which Bagan would struggle to recover. But the invaders weren't the only force shaking the city. Bagan is situated in a seismically active zone, an area prone to powerful earthquakes. Over the centuries, countless tremors have rocked this plain of temples. Imagine the terror of seeing these colossal monuments, built as eternal symbols of faith, sway and collapse. Each earthquake was a devastating blow, not just to the structures themselves, but to the morale of the people. Inscriptions tell of kings who tirelessly worked to restore damaged temples, but the relentless shaking took its toll. Repairing thousands of pagodas was a monumental task, draining the kingdom's resources and manpower. The physical landscape of Bagan was constantly being reshaped by these natural disasters, with each tremor chipping away at its grandeur, leaving behind a field of majestic ruins. Instead of a living city, it was a constant battle against nature, one the kingdom couldn't always win. Perhaps the most insidious cause of Bagan's decline was a slow, internal decay. For over 2 centuries, the kings and wealthy elite of Bagan poured an astonishing amount of wealth into religious merit. They built thousands of temples and monasteries, donating vast tracts of fertile, tax-exempt land to the monks. While this devotion created the stunning landscape we see today, it had a crippling effect on the kingdom's economy. As more and more land was given away, the state's tax base shrank dramatically. Less tax revenue meant less money for the army, for public works, and for maintaining the empire's infrastructure. This economic strain, a sort of self-inflicted wound born from piety, hollowed out the kingdom from within. By the time the Mongols arrived, the empire was already economically fragile. Unable to fund a strong defense or recover from significant setbacks, the very act that created Bagan's glory also sowed the seeds of its downfall. Compounding these problems was a shift in the currents of global trade. Bagan had flourished in part due to its strategic position on overland trade routes, connecting India and China. But by the late 13th and 14th centuries, maritime trade routes were becoming more prominent. The centers of economic power began to shift south, to coastal ports that offered more efficient access to the growing sea trade in the Indian Ocean. As ships replaced caravans, Bagan found itself increasingly isolated, a landlocked city bypassed by the new highways of commerce. The flow of goods, wealth, and ideas that had once enriched the capital dwindled to a trickle. This economic marginalization was a slow but certain blow. Without its central role in regional trade, Bagan lost a key source of its prosperity and influence, further accelerating its fade into obscurity. As the central authority of Bagan weakened, the empire began to disintegrate. The once mighty kingdom splintered into smaller, competing states. The Shan, people from the north, established new power centers, while other ethnic groups like the Mon in the south reasserted their independence. Bagan, the old imperial capital, became just one of many small, regional players. Its political significance evaporated. The city that had once commanded a vast territory was now a provincial backwater, its glories past a distant memory. Power and population shifted to new capitals, like Ava and Pegu, which were better positioned for the new political and economic realities. Bagan itself wasn't completely abandoned overnight, but it ceased to be the center of the universe. It became a place of pilgrimage, a sacred relic of a bygone era, rather than a living, breathing metropolis. And so, Bagan transformed. The hustle and bustle of a royal capital gave way to a profound silence, broken only by the wind whistling through hollowed temples. The city wasn't so much destroyed as it was left behind. Its population dwindled, with people migrating to more prosperous areas. What remained was a vast, sacred landscape, tended by a few monks and villagers who lived in the shadow of the great monuments. For centuries, Bagan lay dormant, a ghost city sleeping under the tropical sun. It became a place of mystery and legend, its story preserved not in royal chronicles, but in the intricate carvings and murals that still adorn the temple walls. These silent stones are the last witnesses to the city's golden age, holding the echoes of a lost civilization. Today, as we wander through this incredible archaeological zone, we are walking through the layers of this complex history. Each temple, whether perfectly preserved or beautifully ruined, tells a piece of the story. The theories of invasion, earthquakes, economic exhaustion, and shifting trade routes are not mutually exclusive. Instead, they represent a perfect storm of factors that converge to bring about the end of an era. The decline of Bagan was a gradual process, a slow unraveling of a once great civilization. It serves as a powerful reminder that even the mightiest empires are fragile, their fortunes subject to the whims of war, nature, and the changing tides of history. The mystery isn't that Bagan fell, but that so much of its breathtaking beauty has survived for us to witness today. A city built to last for eternity now stands as a testament to the fact that nothing truly does. Yet, in its decline, Bagan found a new kind of life. It has become one of the world's most awe-inspiring sights, a sacred place that continues to capture the imagination of all who visit. Its survival is, in itself, a miracle. The mystery of its decline is now overshadowed by the enduring power of its spiritual and artistic legacy. For centuries, the vast plain of Bagan lay shrouded in myth, its thousands of temples slowly reclaimed by nature. It was a ghost city, a forgotten empire whose golden age had faded into memory. But then, as the world began to open up in the 19th century, whispers of this lost kingdom reached the ears of European explorers and adventurers. Intrepid travelers, armed with little more than curiosity and sketchbooks, navigated the winding Irrawaddy River, their eyes widening as the first stupas pierced the horizon. What they found was beyond imagination. Their initial sketches and written accounts painted a picture of a breathtaking landscape, a sea of red brick and gilded spires stretching as far as the eye could see. These were not just ruins. They were the silent testaments to a civilization of incredible faith, artistry, and power. The world was captivated. These early documentations sparked a wave of archaeological interest, and soon, teams began the monumental task of uncovering Bagan's secrets from beneath layers of dust and vegetation. The early 20th century saw the first systematic excavations. Archaeologists carefully unearthed temple foundations, revealing intricate floor plans and hidden corridors. They discovered stunning murals concealed under centuries of grime, vibrant paintings depicting stories from the Jotakatelis, royal processions, and scenes of daily life from nearly 1,000 years ago. It was like opening a time capsule, a artifact from a humble clay pot to a magnificent bronze Buddha statue added a new piece to the puzzle of Bagan's history. However, this rediscovery also brought new challenges. The very act of uncovering these delicate structures exposed them to the elements. The monsoon rains, the searing sun, and even the gentle winds began to take their toll. Furthermore, Bagan is situated in a seismically active zone. Over the centuries, earthquakes had caused significant damage, toppling spires and cracking ancient walls. A devastating quake in 1975 served as a major wake-up call, reducing hundreds of temples to rubble and highlighting the urgent need for a coordinated preservation strategy. This marked a turning point in Bagan's story. The focus shifted from mere discovery to active conservation. International organizations, alongside local experts and communities, began to collaborate. The goal was no longer just to excavate, but to stabilize, restore, and protect. This is a delicate and painstaking process. You can see conservators today working with surgical precision, consolidating fragile brickwork, cleaning ancient stucco carvings, and meticulously restoring damaged murals using techniques that are both traditional and cutting-edge. It's a race against time, a constant battle against decay. The approach to restoration has evolved significantly over the years. Early efforts sometimes involved modern materials like concrete, which, while well-intentioned, often caused more harm than good in the long run by trapping moisture and damaging the original brick. Today, the philosophy is one of authenticity. Conservators strive to use traditional materials and techniques like mortars and building methods passed down through generations. The aim is to preserve the integrity of the original structure, ensuring that any intervention is reversible and true to the spirit of the original builders. The local community plays a vital role in this ongoing effort. For the people who live in the shadow of these temples, Bagan is not just an archaeological site. It's a living landscape, a center of their spiritual and cultural life. They are the modern-day guardians of this heritage. You'll see families making offerings at the same temples their ancestors worshipped in, their lives interwoven with the rhythm of this ancient city. Their knowledge of local materials and traditions is invaluable to the conservation process. This partnership between international science and local wisdom is the key to Bagan's future. Finally, in 2019, after decades of dedicated effort, the world officially recognized the immense significance of this sacred landscape. UNESCO inscribed Bagan as a World Heritage Site. This prestigious designation wasn't just an honor, it was a global commitment to protect this irreplaceable treasure for all of humanity. It brought with it increased resources, international expertise, and a renewed sense of pride and responsibility. Today, when you gaze out over the plains of Bagan, whether from a hot air balloon at sunrise or the quiet terrace of a riverside temple, you're not just looking at old buildings. You're witnessing the result of a century of rediscovery and the global effort of preservation. You're seeing a story of resilience, of a culture that refused to be forgotten, and of the human dedication that brought it back to light. It's a powerful reminder that our shared history is precious, and it's up to all of us to protect it for the generations to come. From the 9th to the 13th centuries, Bagan was the capital of the Pagan Kingdom. At its peak, this was a bustling metropolis, a center of religious and secular learning, drawing scholars and monks from across Asia. The kings of Bagan were devout Buddhists, and their faith fueled an unprecedented construction boom. It's said that over 10,000 religious monuments were built across these plains. Each ruler sought to outdo their predecessor, not in warfare, but in devotional construction. They used a sophisticated combination of brick and stone, creating structures that were not only spiritually significant, but also architectural marvels. Look at the intricate carvings, the towering spires, the sheer scale of it all. It's a landscape built from devotion, but this golden age wasn't to last forever. In the late 13th century, the Pagan Kingdom faced repeated invasions and internal strife, leading to its eventual collapse. The capital was abandoned, and for centuries, this magnificent city of temples was left to the elements. Yet, it was never truly forgotten. The local people continued to worship here, maintaining a connection to their sacred past, passing down stories and legends through generations. Walking through Bagan today feels like stepping into another world. The sheer number of structures is over 2,000 temples and pagodas still stand in varying states of preservation. Some, like the Ananda Temple, are immaculately maintained, its gilded spires gleaming in the sun, still active places of worship bustling with pilgrims. Its architecture is a stunning fusion of modern and Indian styles, with 4 massive standing Buddha statues facing the cardinal directions, each with a different facial expression than you have the smaller, more intimate temples hidden away down dusty tracks. Discovering one of these feels like uncovering a secret. You might be the only person there, surrounded by ancient murals depicting Jataka Telisa, stories of the Buddha's previous lives. These artworks are not just decorations. They are visual scriptures, teaching lessons of compassion, wisdom, and the path to enlightenment. The silence in these smaller temples is profound, broken only by the chirping of birds or the gentle rustle of the wind. It's in these moments you can truly feel the spiritual energy that permeates this land. Of course, no visit to Bagan is complete without witnessing its legendary sunrises and sunsets. Waking up before dawn and climbing to a viewpoint is a ritual for every traveler. As the first light of day breaks, the sky transforms into a canvas of pink, orange, and gold. Mist often blankets the plains, with the tops of the temples piercing through like islands in a mystical sea. Then, the hot air balloons begin to ascend, drifting silently over the landscape, adding another layer of magic to an already surreal scene. It's a moment of pure awe, a memory that stays with you forever. The sunset offers a different kind of beauty. As the sun dips below the horizon, it casts long shadows and bathes the temples in a warm, golden glow. The red bricks seem to burn with an inner fire. It's a time for reflection, for contemplating the passage of time and the enduring power of human faith. You see families gathering, monks in their saffron robes making their way home, and the entire landscape settling into a peaceful tranquility. But Bagan is more than just ancient bricks and stunning views. It's a living, breathing, cultural heritage site. This status brings with it a renewed focus on preservation. Decades of well-intentioned, but often damaging restoration attempts are now being corrected with scientific, internationally supported conservation efforts. The goal is not just to preserve the structures, but to maintain their authenticity and the spirit of the place. This legacy is also carried on by the people who live in the villages scattered around the archaeological zone. Their lives are interwoven with the temples. You'll see artisans crafting traditional lacquerware, a craft that has been practiced here for centuries. You'll see farmers tending their fields in the shadows of ancient stupas. Their connection to this land is deep and unbroken. For them, these aren't just ruins. They are an integral part of their identity and daily life. You can spend days just getting lost, with each turn revealing another magnificent structure, another stunning vista, another piece of the puzzle that is Bagan's history. It's a place that rewards curiosity and slow travel. Bagan's stone spires endure, whispering the secrets of a lost kingdom. Bagan remains a symbol of faith, art, and human ingenuity. A place where the past and present coexist in stunning harmony. As the sun sets over the temple-studded plains and hot air balloons drift dreamily at dawn, you help but feel the immense weight of history and the enduring spirit of this sacred landscape. It's more than just a tourist destination. It's a pilgrimage, a journey into the heart of a civilization that, fallen, has left behind a legacy of breathtaking beauty and profound spiritual significance. Bagan teaches us that what is built from faith can withstand the test of time. Bagan's stone spires endure, whispering the secrets of a lost kingdom. Once the heart of a powerful empire, this ancient city now stands as a silent testament to a glorious past. Why were over 10,000 temples built here? And what became of the civilization that raised them from the dust? The answers are as enigmatic as the morning mist that shrouds these sacred grounds. Bagan remains a symbol of faith, art, and human ingenuity. Each temple, pagoda, and stupa is a unique masterpiece, reflecting the deep Buddhist faith of the kings who commissioned them. From the soaring height of the That Be Temple, said to represent the omniscience of the Buddha, to the intricate murals hidden within the Sulimani Temple, Bagan is a living museum of ancient architecture and religious art. As the sun rises, the landscape transforms. Hot air balloons drift serenely overhead, offering a breathtaking perspective of this sea of spires. It's from this vantage point that you truly grasp the scale of this ancient metropolis. The sheer number of structures is staggering. A golden red city of brick and stucco glowing in the dawn light. It's a view that has captivated travelers for centuries. A moment of pure magic that feels suspended in time. The legacy of Bagan isn't just preserved in stone. It lives on in the culture of the people. Festivals like the Ananda Pagoda Festival fill the air with energy, drawing pilgrims from all over the country. They come to pay homage, to connect with their heritage, and to keep the spiritual flame of this sacred place alive. These celebrations are a vibrant reminder that Bagan is not a ruin, but a place of enduring spiritual significance, exploring the dusty paths that wind between the temples. You can't help but feel a sense of reverence. You might stumble upon a hidden staircase leading to a rooftop with an unparalleled view, or find a secluded chamber where a serene Buddha statue has sat in meditation for nearly 1,000 years. It's in these quiet moments, away from the crowds, that the soul of Bagan truly reveals itself. The craftsmanship is simply astounding. The masons of Bagan were masters of their art, creating complex vaulted arches and domes without modern technology. They developed unique bricklaying techniques and mortar formulas that have allowed these structures to withstand centuries of earthquakes and the relentless march of time. Every detail, from the delicate stucco carvings to the massive foundational platforms, speaks of a civilization at the peak of its creative and engineering powers. But the story of Bagan is also one of decline. After centuries of prosperity, the kingdom faced internal strife and external threats. The Mongol invasions of the late 13th century marked the beginning of the end. The capital was eventually abandoned, and the once thriving city slowly faded from prominence, its thousands of temples gradually reclaimed by nature. This sudden vanishing act adds to the profound mystery that hangs over the plains. Despite the passage of time and the forces of nature, the spirit of Bagan endures. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, recognized for its outstanding universal value. Conservation efforts are ongoing, a delicate balance between preserving these ancient monuments and allowing the world to witness their splendor. For the people of Myanmar, it is a source of immense national pride, a connection to a magnificent past that continues to inspire the present. As sunset paints the sky in fiery hues of orange and purple, the temples are cast into dramatic silhouette. The fading light softens their edges, and the plains fall into a deep, peaceful silence. It's a time for reflection, a moment to ponder the ambition, the faith, and the artistry that created this unforgettable landscape. Bagan teaches us that while empires may fall and cities may crumble, the legacy of what we create, the beauty, the faith, the sheer wonder, can echo through eternity. Thank you for watching. If you are fascinated by the story of Bagan, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell for more journeys into the world's most incredible lost civilizations. See you next time.